Hey, I'm Mike, and in this video I'm going to show you how to farm the two mounts out of Nighthold off of Gul'dan, the final boss. In the start of this video, I'm just going to show you how to get inside of Nighthold in case you've never done it before. It's not really a long walk, but it's made a lot easier if you do the quest line in Suramar that unlocks the Sanctum of Order portal. It'll take you kind of right beside the Summoning Stone, and the walk is a lot shorter. Don't remember how far into the quest line it is, but again, that is the Sanctum of Order portal, and it is comes up right at the end. So that's just the start of this video. I left the map open, doesn't really help you a whole lot, but there's the portal right now that I'm looking at, so you kind of skip that that first part of it, and you just make your way around this corner, then head down into the entrance to Nighthold. For this mount, there are two, like I said. There is the Living Infernal Core, which is the green one that drops on any difficulty, excluding LFR, so that's normal, heroic, and mythic. And then there's the red version of the mount, the Fiendish Hellfire Core, which drops on mythic only. In this video, I recorded this on July 21st, 2022, in patch 9.2.5 of Shadowlands. I'm level 60, and doing this at eye level 222, and I'm recording this on mythic. The nice thing about the green version that drops on normal, heroic, and mythic is that you can run all three of those difficulties every single week because they don't share a lockout. So for that mount specifically, you have 3 chances at the mount per week. So if you really want to go for it and try to get it as quickly as possible, I would recommend doing that. Those first 2 mobs that I pulled at the start there, you can skip them if you're better than I am. They just want to be in this video, so they got to be in there. That door across the hallway that I'm looking at right now, there is a quest at the start of this dungeon. I've already done them all, so that's why I didn't see it, but if you pick that up, you have to kill certain bosses 4 times, so it'll take you 4 weeks to complete, and then you unlock skips for this raid. I'd recommend doing that just so that way, once you unlock the Gul'dan skip, all you have to do is the last 2 bosses, and that doorway that I showed you earlier is where you would go to get that skip. So pick up that quest on all those difficulties you're doing it on, and complete it. Maybe you'll get them up before then, and it'll be irrelevant, but still nice to have anyway. So the first boss is Skorpyron. He's a giant scorpion, as you can see. The main thing he does is Chitinous Exoskeleton, at which point he takes, I think it's like 50% more damage. So you'll probably either do the majority of your damage or kill him completely during that during this phase, like I did here. And he spawns some scorpions around him that I think they come in at certain times, and there's like he spawns some like gems on the ground, or not gems, but minerals, I guess, that you have to stand behind at certain points, but the mechanics aren't really important. I'm going to explain them anyway, just in case people are curious, and I have the time to kill, so that way, in case you have to ever encounter them, you kind of have a little bit of information. I won't provide you much. I did progress on this during Mythic, but I don't remember a whole lot, so I'll just go off of memory here. The ads here that I killed, you do have to kill them to get this door to open. After you kill the last set of ads, there's about 45 seconds of RP before this guy comes in and starts shooting a laser beam at the door, and then you can start running in. And then just really quick, just because I keep having to clear my throat, I'm just editing that out. I'm getting over sickness, so if my voice sounds a little bit raspy or mopey, that's why. I'm just trying not to exert a whole lot of energy. The next boss is Chronmatic Anomaly, which is my least favorite fight in all of WoW. I absolutely despise this boss. Basically, as a mechanic where he will slow up, that makes sense, where he will speed up or slow down time, and your abilities and your movement will go with it. He spawns stuff on the ground that you can see I'm moving out of, but that doesn't do a lot of damage anyway. When I was progressing on this back in the day, I did it once per difficulty, and then I literally begged my raid leader to, I don't know why I said raid so weird there. I begged my raid leader to sit me because I could not stand this fight. I absolutely despised it simply because of that speed up and slow down mechanic. I don't know, there was something about it that I absolutely hated, and fortunately my raid leader would always oblige, or I think most of the time he wouldn't, and he'd let me sit out that fight, but Jesus. That was my least favorite fight of all time, and still is. I've never seen a worse fight in my life. I absolutely despise it. People apparently really love it, so I'm definitely in the minority, but God, I hated that fight. The next room you walk into here is going to have, I think it's like 8 sludges in total. You have to kill all of them, and then they will all slowly converse into the middle of the room to spawn Sludgerax, who is like an elite, who's kind of the preamble to the next boss. The sludges move somewhat slowly, but it doesn't take a whole lot of time. I kind of sped up that section there because it's a little bit boring. Once you kill Sludgerax, after a few seconds, the boss, Trilliax, will spawn. I think in this video, I just sat there taking all of his hits, all of his abilities. I didn't move out anything, just so you could see that really at this point in the game, you're not, like, none of what I'm saying really matters. Like I said, the mechanics do not matter. You can probably avoid the majority of them, stand whenever you want. But again, just because I have the time to kill, I'll talk about them. For this boss in particular, I honestly don't remember much of anything that he does. Outside of the fact that I think those purple swirlies he spawns, yeah, they drop their cakes. And at first I remember when my guild, I think I wasn't in there in the first week that they were progressing on this fight. And when I came in the next week and they were talking about cakes, I thought they were trolling because I thought that was just a placeholder, and I didn't think they were actually going to have cakes in this fight, but sure enough, there were cakes. Once you kill him, it's kind of a long run to the next boss. You can skip pretty much I think you can skip all the mobs up to the next boss. There's a couple that pulled on me because, again, they just want to be in this video, so happy to help, I guess. As I was saying earlier, this was a raid that I progressed on when it was current. It was in this raid that I stopped playing the game for a while just because I was so burnt out by the time this was current. I think I stopped around the time my guild got past the high botanist fight. And because I was just so burnt out, especially like grinding all the artifact power back in Legion and doing Mythic Plus and just all the stuff that came along with raiding. I really, really didn't like it. And this ended up being, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this ended up being the last raid that I ever was a progressive raider on, which it's cool to come back, because in retrospect, it's actually a great raid. I just hated it at the time because I was so burnt out, but it's actually really, it looks beautiful, and it's a really, really fun raid. I think a lot of the mechanics outside of the Chromatic Anomaly are really, really cool to see. These guys over here, they start going into a battle stance once you start getting close to them. I just heroically pass them so I don't have to deal with them. So if you're a pro like me, you can avoid that, but you might pull them before you get to the next boss, who is in the center here. This is Spellblade Aluriel. It just does a bunch of stuff. There's a couple of knockbacks. I think she or the ad that she spawns, the Fell Soul, one or both of them do a knockback. It's not very far, but if you don't want to pull any extra mobs, just keep your back to either the fountain in the middle or just make sure you're not going to get knocked into a pack of mobs. With this boss specifically too, I believe it's this boss and then all the other ones up until the last two, that it doesn't matter which order you do them in. So if you want to do this boss and then like Krosus and then Tichondrius, you can do that, or you can follow the exact same way I'm doing it. It doesn't really matter which order you do it in. If you've never done it, probably just best to follow my lead here and then kind of, I don't know, get crazy with it and maybe go right next time instead of left. Once you kill that boss though, I'm going to go left. I'm going to go towards the High Botanist and Star Augur fights. Walking into this room, there is an ad in here called Astrologer Jaren that I'm killing now. You have to kill this mob to open the door kind of to the right there. It's gonna, for me anyway, it showed as locked and had a green text on it, so I thought I could just right click it and open it when I was doing like a test run before this, but you have to kill that ad first and then that door will open on its own, which will allow you access to the Star Augur fights. When I went to go fight Star Augur here the first time, you'll see I kind of charge in really quick and the boss despawns because he's just deathly afraid of me because he knows he's about to get slapped. But he does respawn after, I think it's like a minute or so. So for this fight as well, I don't remember the mechanics, but what I do know is that this, to this day, remains my favorite fight of all time. The mechanics, from what I remember, I didn't mind them. They were, I think I enjoyed like playing throughout this fight. But look at that backdrop, and it changes a couple more times. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I remember, it's actually kind of funny, when we were doing this fight during Mythic progression, I remember I would oftentimes be looking out to the sky and be like, wow, that looks so cool. Oh god, there's a mechanic. And there were definitely a few deaths where I blamed it on lag, or I blamed it on, oh, I didn't see that or something, but in reality, I was just looking off into the sky. I definitely think the blue is my favorite. There's a purple one after this one that's my second favorite, and then this green one is, I still love it, but it's just not as cool as the other ones, IMO. So, yeah, this fight is just absolutely awesome. And it's just, and like I was saying, it's kind of it's an interesting trip down memory lane, because like I said, I hated this raid at the time, and everyone seemed to like it, but I just, because I was burnt out, and I knew it was part of that, but I didn't know how big of a part that burnout played. And coming back now, so many years later, and not being burnt out on the game, and of course it being a lot easier to do, and not progressing through it on a weekly basis. It's just really cool, man. This is such a fun raid, and there's a part of me that wishes I could have experienced this with kind of the same kind of mindset that I have now, but at the very least I get to enjoy it now with the mindset I have now, so I guess live in the present and all that stuff. Anyway, moving on to the next boss, we're going to go towards the High Botanist telephone fight. So it's kind of a long road to, I guess not long, I don't know. It's kind of it's definitely a run though. There's a whole bunch of ads before him that you can skip entirely, and I took the path, like the road here, but you can just jump into the water on the right and kind of bypass all this, but I wanted to make it nice and clean and official for the video. And on top of that, I think that when I was doing my testing, I just fell right through the water and my water walking wasn't working, which I think doesn't work in dungeons and raids, but I just didn't want to have to deal with that, so that's another reason I did that. On Mythic, which I'm doing again in this video, you'll fight all three of them at the same time. I forgot while I was doing this that me AoEing here does absolutely nothing, because as soon as you kill one, the other two will heal back to 100%. So just single target one every single time, and then you'll just kill them one by one. I believe in normal and heroic, when you kill them, you fight one at a time, or maybe I just killed them so fast that I didn't notice. Like I killed one and the other one came in, maybe they're supposed to come in, then you eventually fight all three at the same time, but I was just killing them so fast that it was one at a time. But on Mythic, you do fight all three simultaneously, just kill them one by one. I believe the Naturalist is the one you want to probably kill first nowadays, just because you see those green spores around me. I believe if you touch them, or maybe if you just get close to them, they permanently root you in place. So unless you have a Dispel or some sort of ability that breaks you free of all that, you're going to have a rough time, and you'll most likely need to hearth out of here to come back and continue. So I would kill that guy first and maybe move around so you're not getting rooted in place. As a warrior, I have Blade Storm, so I was able to get out of that and not have any issues, so that's the way that I got out of there. There's some ads that spawn, and because they spawn kind of in the back there, they pull some of the mobs in the middle, so you might have to do some AoEing, which fun fact actually is when I started AoEing there and I broke free of my Blade Storm, I was like, sorry, when I started AoEing with my Blade Storm and I broke free, that's when I remembered that Blade Storm actually frees you of roots, because I forgot that. It's been a while since I played, I only came back the last little bit. Plus I got an achievement there, which was to collect collect a set of transmog from this place, which I'm surprised I didn't have already, but always nice to get more points. Making my way back the same way that I came, you're going to head back towards where you fought Spellblade Aluriel, and once you get out of that door, again, you can go left, you can go straight across. It's up to you. In this video, I'm going to go straight across, and I'm going to go fight Tichondrius. This fight, in particular, I think was the longest one for my guild. At least, no, I think Gul'dan was the longest one, and then... yeah, I think it was actually Gul'dan, second last boss, and High Botanist, or maybe second last boss and High Botanist were swapped around. But progressing on this fight was absolute hell. I think it was multiple weeks of just... of hell, really. The mechanics were very, very punishing, and I just remember it being exhausting, and just... anytime someone died to something, you're like, oh my god, how many more times do you have to die to that to understand what's going on? It was one of those fights where it was very easy to get frustrated, so... glad to have that memory, but it sucked at the time. On your way to Tichondrius, there is, again, more ads that you can skip. All of them, including all the ones in his room. There's quite a few, which back in the day when you had to fight them, there was very tedious, because I think you had to fight like 1 or 2 at a time, and there's like 5 or 6 packs or something like that, so it was just tedious. But nowadays you could just completely ignore them. He can be pulled, nothing else pulls unless you get too close to them. For some reason, I want to say he spawns ads at some point in this fight. Well, he spawns some on the tank, I know that, but I think he also spawns some in the back of the room. I don't remember if they're stationary or if they come to you. So if you're killing this a little bit slow, you might have more ads as they run through the ads in the room. So there might be some AoE involved, but not much to that. With Tichondrius, I remember this was one fight where, for some reason, every time we did this fight, I always had high anxiety, and from what I remember, I think you had to split the room in half because there was a debuff that you couldn't touch, or no, sorry, you got a debuff, and then as soon as it expired, you couldn't get it again. So my guild had it where the people who had the debuff went to one side of the room, and the people who didn't have the debuff stayed on the other side. Something along those lines, but there was a mechanic where you had to like kind of get close to one another, and I was always very nervous I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly, but it was something about that fight that just completely stressed me out. So, and of course these guys want to be in the video, so hello to them as well. But yeah, Tichondrius I remember being not a fun fight, and I don't think we did that a whole lot of times, so I never needed to ask my guild or my raid leader, sorry, to take me out and bench me. But yeah, that wasn't fun. And then the last boss before we get to the next floor of Nighthold will be Krosus. He is a bridge boss. There's, again, more mobs in front of him, but there's only 3 that you have to kill, and you'll see those in a second here. For Krosus in particular, that I remember also being an annoying fight because a lot of it had to do with I'm pretty sure it had to do with very precise timing, and range DPS played a very big role in like soaking stuff and killing adds, and you had to do things at a very specific time. And this was just one where it was another one, I feel like most bosses are like this, but there was another one where it was like, if you don't do this at this very specific time, you wipe the entire raid and you wasted like 5 minutes of our time, and it was just very frustrating. I don't remember this one being like terrible. I don't remember getting like super agitated at it, but I remember there was definitely some nights where you kind of roll your eyes and you sigh because you just want to get it over with, as every boss like takes a while to kill. But these 3 guys at the end of the bridge here are the ones that you have to kill, and once you kill them, Krosus himself will spawn. He has a fell beam that he does that, like, he raises his arm and you'll see it here shortly. There's a large green laser looking thing that he's about to shoot out. That's it right there. Whatever side he's doing that on is the side that laser's going to go down, so just move out of the way of that. At some time he'll spawn a bunch of green swirlies that spawn adds. I think if you soak them, which is one of the mechanics that was always frustrating to deal with, if you soak them, the adds won't spawn, but because of course you're just one person dealing with like 20 swirlies, it doesn't really matter if you do that. So there might be some AoE involved in this. And then that slam ability that he does, the official mechanic was those 2 brown circles in front of them. The tanks would stand in those to split the damage, and then if no one is in one or both of those, I think it would cause an raid-wide AoE. Again, because you're just soloing this, it doesn't really matter if you stand in it or not, you're going to take that damage. And one thing to really keep in mind is, on his slam ability, make sure, if you're doing this a little bit slowly, keep track of how many times he does it, because every time, or every 3rd slam, he will break a part of the bridge. So if you're standing, like right where I was, and he does his 3rd slam, you're going to get knocked down into the water and you'll die. So just make sure you're keeping track. Again, that's every 3rd slam that he does, you want to move back a little bit. I don't have the exact measurements for you, but just move like halfway to the bridge and you kind of get a feel for it. Once you kill him, you can loot the chest and talk to the image of Khadgar to get teleported back up to the main area here, and you're going to make your way back into the little house here, and on the right side there is going to be a Suramar portal. When you click on this, you're going to want to teleport to the Night Spire. This will take you to the 2nd floor of Nighthold, where you will fight the 2nd last boss, who I think has really cool mechanics. It's really fun, and I think this was one that I kind of did half progression on, and I think it was the later half of it when the guild had already kind of gone through all the hard steps, and I kind of just came in and mostly got carried. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. But before you fight Elisande, you got to kill these mobs around her. There's a couple of them that do, I think it's called Siphon Nightwell, yeah, the Midnight Siphoners that you want to kill, that are stationary that you'll want to kill, and you can't just group them all together and AoE them down. Once you kill all those adds, there's about 1 minute and 15 seconds of RP before the boss becomes attackable. Do a ranged ability or a taunt or something just to get her to spawn on you. That void zone that she spawns on top of you, it used to do a lot of damage. I think it also used to kill you, so nowadays, like you saw, I'm just going to stand on all 3 of them that spawn. It doesn't really matter, just take that damage. There's going to be 2 adds that spawn. It's an expedient experimental, I think, which is the pink one, and then there's a blue one in the back there that you're seeing that just despawned. The blue one stays in place and the pink one will always come to you. If you want, you can kill that pink one because it's going to bring up a pink sphere, where if you stand in that, I believe it increases your haste or something like that. It's a buff, basically. So kill the pink ad and stand in the pink orb that it spawns, and it'll give you a buff. With Elisande specifically, there's 3 phases. Every time you kill her, she respawns with some new mechanics. And it's kind of like, she reverses time, I believe, is kind of like the story thing there. So used to be that she like reset all for you'd reset all your cooldowns, and there's something else to it, I forget, but yeah, every phase had something from the last phase and something new. And and you'd use those orbs. So there's a pink orb from the pink mob, and then the blue one would slow you down instead when you kill the blue ad. And there's orbs that come in from, which you don't see in this fight because I just do it so quickly, but in mythic progression there would be orbs that come in from the walls, and there is no spot for you to get out of. And if you touch one of those orbs, you would die or get very, 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 very close to it and piss off your healers. So we'd use these orbs that the ads spawn to speed up or slow down those orbs. Same with the things that are falling from the sky. I believe you could also speed those up and slow those down. So kind of like Chromatic Anomaly, but way cooler. Like, it was a really, 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 really fun fight. Once you kill her though, you're going to go to the Suramar portal and port over to the Font of Night. Get close to the boss, Gul'dan, and then use a ranged ability to attack him. The reason you want to get close is because he has a knockback. If you hit him from far away, that knockback will knock you off this platform and you'll have to come back, and it's embarrassing. So just stand close to him. On normal and on heroic, he will stop taking damage at 90%, spawn 3 ads, and then continue taking damage, and it's kind of a much slower fight. Whereas on Mythic, as you see, he doesn't have that 90% stop, he just kind of goes right through and you can continue fighting him. He spawns these Eyes of Gul'dan that have a crazy wide AoE, a crazy wide hitbox, so AoE just go nutso on them, if you want anyway. They used to do a whole bunch of damage and like would wipe a raid pretty quick. And then he has, at least once in the fight, I think maybe twice, he does this kind of pushback as you were seeing me fight against there. It is pretty strong, at least on Mythic, so if you're not very mobile, you might have a hard time, but just push against it, run towards him, and you won't have any issues there. But that used to be something that people would fall off the edge with, which was annoying. In this other phase, he spawns an Empowered Eye Gul'dan, which again has a massive hitbox, so just dunk on it. The souls in the middle there used to have to soak, or also would do raid-wide damage. And then on normal and heroic, at this point the fight is over. The Demon Within phase here that you're seeing is on Mythic only, and you get to fight a dark version of Illidan. When he flies up in the air, make sure you're kind of standing in the center here. He does another knockback, as you saw. It's not as intense as the initial Gul'dan knockback, but if you're close to the edge, you might get knocked off, so just stay close. I actually never saw this in progression. I only did this in like mount runs, the next expansion. He spawns like parasites that you used to have to like ping pong between people or something. He spawns an ad at the end here that I just ignored, and you don't have to kill now. But there was also some raid wiping ability that I never understood, and honestly I can't explain it to you. People explained it to me like 20 times maybe. I still have no idea. But that's how you farm Nighthold to get the 2 mounts there. Again, red one is Mythic only, green one you can farm on any difficulty, and you can do it on every difficulty every week, so that's 3 chances at the mount. And then once you kill Gul'dan, you can just jump off the edge here, die, run out really quick, change the difficulty, and go right back into it. And it's great if you have those skips, because you can just do this in like 15-20 minutes. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Actually, I'm going to show you in this video, you can see me switching the difficulty, cutting back in. But I'll leave it there. Good luck farming them out, and thanks for watching.